Now, the Yankees are an 8-8 team. That is the bottom line. The record doesn't lie. They're an 8-8 team, and not what Yankee fans expected out of the game. Doesn't mean that they won't be in cruise control here sooner than later and, win a lot of games and do what everybody thinks. But right now, they're an 8-8 team. Are they better than 8-8? Are they worse than 8-8? They looked awful last night in a 9-1 loss. Let's bring on Gary Phillips, who covers the Yankees and the Jets, and we'll get to the Jet news as well with the Sporting News and USA Today. Gary, Roger Weiland, and Chris Honorado, Big Board Sports, 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio in Albany. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good, Gary. Appreciate it, man. So, what do you make? I mean, I'm one of the guys, I don't like to push panic buttons too early in a season that's only a couple of 3 weeks old, and you've only played 16 games. But the bottom line is the Yankees have not looked great here. They're supposed to look a lot better. They're 8-8. What do you read into the 8-8 start?
So I wrote a little bit about this the other day at Sporting News, not just the Yankees, but a few expected powerhouses that are struggling out of the gate. And, yeah, it's still April. I'm not trying to read too much into it, but two things that stand out to me. Obviously, you have some stars like Gary Sanchez and Giancarlo Stanton that are struggling. But what's even more shocking to me is the bullpen's given up 32 earned runs. And as a team, the Yankees have made 17 errors already. So they're just not playing crisp baseball. That's in the field. You add some mental mistakes on the bases. There's been a few already early this season. They're playing very sloppy baseball. I don't know if that's rust or you want to chalk that up to a new coaching staff or what the blame is there, but just that they're playing, that not only are they losing games, but they're looking so bad doing it is one of the main concerns for me early this season.
Yeah, I mean, you are so right about the errors. I mean, it's been we can talk about Tanaka all we want. He wasn't good last night, but he is certainly not getting a lot of help and didn't last night with the Gregorius error that led to a couple of runs and put the Yankees in a hole that they would never climb out of. And I'm really not sure what the bullpen issues are either, to be honest with you, Gary. And now, our local guy here from Shaker, 518 kid, Capital Region kid, Tommy Canley, goes on the 10-day DL, tendonitis in the shoulder. We hope the MRI comes back and there's no issues, and he gets back. But his ERA is up to 6.41, and this bullpen needs to be a lot better. There's no doubt about that. Well,
Canley looked really good the other day in Boston. His velocity had been down all season. He was throwing low 90s, and he got back up to the high 90s, 96 the other day in Boston after making some mechanical issues with pitching coach Larry Rothschild. And just based on that outing, it looked like, okay, he's back on the right track. He's fixed. He's throwing harder. He's throwing in a straight line. And then they get the news yesterday that he's going to be out for a little bit. So that was kind of a blow. And then the rest of the bullpen, it's a matter of consistency, and they haven't shown it so far. It's especially a guy like Dellin Betances. It's a flip of the coin what he's going to do on any given night. Chapman's had some shaky innings here. Even Chad Green's looked touchable at times this season early on. So the good news there is that they've got some pretty electric arms in that bullpen. I don't expect this to be a problem throughout the season. And if you look back to last year, there were times when the bullpen had its fair share of struggles as well. So I don't think it's going to be an everlasting problem throughout the season, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on right now.
Gary Phillips with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter at Gary H. Phillips. Gary, we played back the comments post-game from Aaron Boone last night about whether or not he would consider moving Giancarlo Stanton down in the order to maybe alleviate some pressure he may be feeling here at home. 3 for 35. That's an .086 batting average at the Bronx. But on the road, he's a different guy. 10 for 31. What have you gleaned from Stanton's comments throughout all this as to whether or not he feels like he's pressing a little bit more at home?
Well, as far as his comments go, he's been a really good sport about everything, and he's not getting riled up in front of the media or anything like that. He's got a good sense of humor. He's been self-deprecating. He's taken responsibility for the performances, for why fans are booing him. So you got to give him some credit there as far as handling the New York media goes. far as on the field, especially in the last few days, we've seen it more and more. His frustration kind of reaching a boiling point on the field. You've seen him slam some bats and throw his hands up in the air. So it's got to be in his head. And you know what? He's human. It will be in anybody's head, whether you're the reigning NL MVP or Joe Schmo off the street. I mean, when you're playing the way he is, especially in front of a home crowd, you're going to press and you're going to get caught up in the mental side of it.
All right, let's turn to the Jets here. The draft is a week from tomorrow. Whom are they picking with their first number one pick? What are they doing? I'm gonna just throw it out there. I won't hold you to anything, Gary, but I know you're on top of it here a little bit and cover the Jets. What does your gut tell you they do on Thursday night?
Well, I think we all know that they're going to end up taking a quarterback.
Right, got it.
Who it's going to be, we're still not sure. It depends a lot on what the Browns and the Giants do in front of them. I think everybody's kind of assumed this whole time that Sam Darnold is going to go number one to the Browns, but in the last week or so, you've heard some things that maybe they're leaning a little towards Josh Allen more, so who knows what they do. If the Browns take Allen, it's rumored that the Giants are only really interested in Darnold. Otherwise, they're going to take Saquon Barkley. So if that happens, assuming Darnold is off the board, going number one to Cleveland or number two to the Giants, I think the Jets probably end up with Josh Rosen. He's a safer pick than Baker Mayfield at this point. I don't know that he's going to be better per se, but he's the safer pick, and this is kind of a team that's desperate at the position.
Gary, if Darnold goes one to the Browns and then the Giants take Barkley at two, so if the Jets have Rosen, Allen, and Mayfield all on the table, though it sounds like we're going to take Baker Mayfield out of the equation for our purposes here. So if it's Allen and Rosen still on the board, do you get a feeling either way which guy Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles prefer?
I think even if you put Mayfield into the equation, I don't think Allen is anywhere near the top of their list right now.
Okay.
For a few reasons. He's had some trouble with accuracy in college. History tells us that doesn't just appear overnight once he gets to the NFL. His footwork's had some problems. And while I think he's a much better prospect than Christian Hackenberg, there are just so many comparisons and similarities where if Mike McCagnon were to take him and Allen didn't pan out, it would be career suicide as far as ever getting another GM job. So I don't think he's on their list. I think that's somebody they want to avoid.
In terms of how far this team may be away, and we'll assume they're going to get this young stud quarterback and move forward, how far away are the Jets from being a good football team?
Well, it really depends on what they want to do this year and what this quarterback shows them in training camp in the preseason. I don't know that whoever they pick is going to end up starting this season, at least not at the beginning of the year. I think it's safe to say that's going to be Josh McCown. I'm still looking at this year, the 2018 season, as a rebuild for them, as the final year in their rebuild. And I think come 2019, we can say, all right, this is a team that should be contending for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that is a very fair assessment. Gary Phillips, Sporting News, USA Today, thank you for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports 104.5, a team in Albany.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Gary.